Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome, and thanks for being here. Quick update before we start on the Trinity Rodman super short print card I am pursuing on eBay. The seller has not responded. Usually after a few days, if I don't hear anything, I probably won't, but fingers crossed, and I will keep you updated in future episodes if I do hear back from that seller. So today's episode, a great guest back for a second time. Super excited to have my man Nick on IG at the_slab_exchange on the show today. Nick, how's it going?
Doing well. Good to see you again, Ken.
Yeah, good to see you. I just saw you a few weeks ago, right down at in Bleecker, the Bleecker Trading Show.
I've seen you more in the last 3 weeks than I have the whole year.
Well, that's what happened. We're getting excited. It's that time of year, right? Everybody's
National season.
coming out from the woodwork, getting ready to go. Yeah, national, right? It's on everybody's the tip of everybody's tongue, right? You
Yeah.
you can't go anywhere or talk to anybody about it.
You can't
Um,
measure this excitement.
no, no, not at all. So tell me, let's just jump right into it. How do you prepare? How do you get ready for this? I know what I've been doing for the last 6 months to prepare for this. And actually, before you even answer that, because I don't know the answer to this question. How many nationals have you set up at?
I've set up at three in totality. I've been to probably six, possibly seven, if I the one in New Jersey a while back. Um, so right around there. I'm not a well vested national veteran, but I am pretty. I'd probably be say I call myself a novice in a sense, not amateur but a novice. So
Yeah.
I do my fair share over there. I got acclimated very quickly.
So your preparation to get ready, I know last year was my first one setting up, right? So I went there, I set up, I'd never set up before. I've learned so many things in a short amount of time, and I come home and I have a whole year to prepare. But these last 6 months, I've really, put a plan into action, preparing to go. And no matter how much I think I've done right, I'm sure I'm going to get there and realize I should have done different things. So you going into your third time, how do you prepare and what do you think?
Uh, for myself, it's just really status quo. You do the same thing you do at every other show. It's just sometimes you get a little more excited because it's on a bigger scale. Uh, you do like before any even local card show. What do you do the night before? You make sure you have your inventory, it's organized, your numbers are correct, your pricing's updated, right? And being that it's a national and it is amplified, you might have to do that for many more cards, so it takes a little more time. But as long as you kind of stay in your pocket and do the same things you always do, you're not going to get overwhelmed per se. The national itself is very overwhelming, but your inventory doesn't have to be.
Hmm. And I would think because I know many times on season one, setting up next to you at the last show, I would talk about wanting to emulate showing up with one case, the backpack with cards, putting out like 20, 25 cards, and that was it. That was your whole setup. Where here I was running around, putting all this stuff, I'm doing all this work, and I kept looking over and saying, I'm doing something wrong. I mean, look at this guy. But I mean, the cards that's in you are, the cards you have in your case. I mean, they're special cards. They're higher end. And I would have to imagine a show like the National is where you're going to shine. I mean, where these cards are really these are the cards people are looking for, right? These higher end cards.
Uh, Partially. Look, is the national, like I said, it's the Super Bowl of our industry, right? So there's no wrong way to do it. Is there a lot of money flying around in big chunks at the national? Yeah, sure. But again, whether you're doing mid-range cards in high volume or you're doing super high-end cards at low quantities, it all works the same. You could succeed in any form or facet. There's no one way to do it, and that's the best part of this hobby is there's so many different ways to collect, to be able to sell, make money, whatever your forte is. There's many ways to do it. just like in other genres. There's in real estate, there's not only one way to make money. There's multiple avenues to do so, and cards, same rule applies.
Yeah, and I would have to think the bigger shows like the Dallas, the Burbank, the National, those are much better shows for a certain type of dealer versus the smaller, more local shows. Um, because I don't think, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't think at a local show somebody's going to walk in and buy, say, an 8, 10, or $15,000 card. They might, but I think at a bigger show like a Dallas or a Burbank or the National, like people are coming cash heavy to
Yeah.
look for these bigger cards. So someone like me who I've set up my at the beginning, I said, planning for the national this year, I wanted to have these RPAs in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. I mean, that was my focus. And then a month or so into it, doing all these shows, I realized that the shows that I was doing, people weren't really looking for those type of cards. People were really looking for those $300 to $700 or $800 cards. That was the sweet spot. So if I wanted to be successful in the shows, the majority of the shows I was doing, I needed to be in that area. So I decided, looking forward to the national, this was what my inventory was going to be.
Right.
So for someone like you, and I mean, go ahead, just kind of explain your thought pattern versus a local show going to these larger shows,
Well,
because I know
everything.
you do the bigger shows as well.
Yeah, everything you said was correct. For instance, a lot of inventory has to be show specific. Like for the smaller shows, am I going to bring $100,000 card? No, unless you just want to be able to attract foot traffic to your table, you could do it as well. And look, for the bigger shows like the National Burbank, let's be honest, as a vendor, you have a lot of competition, so you want your best stuff there to, whether you're trying to move that card or not, at least attract attention, and word of mouth goes around the national pretty fast. You want to be able to attract attention or foot traffic to your table, to whether you sell that card or not. At least maybe they might come by your table, take a look at it, and see something else they like. It's just almost a form of marketing per
Yeah.
se.
Yeah.
So that's why you always want your biggest and best stuff for the bigger shows, such as the National, Burbank, etc., and Dallas. But the smaller shows, it's kind of a blank canvas. You do as you please with it. There you could mix and match different genres. You could be very specific to one sport. You can bring a bunch of little cards and sell in volume, or you could bring some mid-range cards, or something that you could consolidate and sell just maybe one or two cards and make your whole show.
Hmm. I try, and I always talked about try to emulate you, and I really tried to do that, but at the end of the day I kept rebounding back to having like singles boxes and things like that, because if nothing else, it attracted people to the table and it
Yeah, of
created conversation
course.
and things like that. So and that's we all know, when you go to a show, I mean, if the shows are busy, you don't have time to stop and do anything. But if they're a little slower, you really want to be talking to people.
Of
So you
course.
really like to have these people, coming to your tables as much as you can. And I think that's, the same as, at the national. I mean, one of the things I saw last year, it was so busy. I don't think, you know, I'm going to say half, but there's a large percentage of people that never even saw what I had in my case because they couldn't get up to the table just to see what was in the case.
Right, right.
Right. So you're right. So if people say, hey, Nick at booth whatever has these unbelievable cards, people are going to push their way through, right? Make sure they get in
Of course.
and and see those cards. Yeah.
And for a show like the National and all the big ones included, it's all hands on deck. Those, let's be honest, as vendors, we have quite a big amount of expenses. Whether it's we're flying out there, paying for the vendor fee and everything in between. It adds up. So you definitely want to maximize the opportunity, and by maximizing, not only bringing your best stuff in regards to your inventory, but also be able to market yourself. Right, you have to utilize social media to your advantage. Let people know where you are. Like shout out to the top of the hill, and let people know that you're there. Because if people don't know you're there, then what are you paying all that money for as a vendor? You're just
Yeah.
basically going there to go look at cards just like everybody else is, which is fine in itself too. Like me and you are collectors at heart too. Yeah, can you make a pretty penny doing this the right way if you buy things at certain margins and be able to turn it over? Yeah, sure. But we love every aspect of it, and that's why we're here and doing it for so long.
Now you're almost making me rethink my plan a little bit. Like some of these higher end cars that I would never part with, that maybe I should bring them and put them in the case anyways.
You
You
just
know,
never know. You
yeah,
really never know. If you love it that much, you won't bring it. But again, you still, as a collector, you like to showcase your stuff because like for cards that you never even fathomed to part with, a lot of times they're just sitting in the safety security box, or you're safe at home, or somewhere where you only see it. The national as well as maybe Burbank and Dallas is the couple times a year where you're able to kind of showcase what you have that you get to enjoy in your personal collection on a daily basis.
can you tell me any one of those cards that you have that you showcase at these bigger shows?
Yes, in fact it's a PSA 9. I think it's 2005 SP game used, dual game used patch auto from LeBron and Jordan. It's the only vertical one produced. It's numbered out of 50. I think there's two PSA 10s, one PSA 9, and one BGS 95. So I'm in a small circle of people who own that card, and that's probably my prized possession currently.
Yeah.
I will have it showcased at the National. I'm a little wary of parting ways with it, but as much as I hate to say it, everything does have a price, right? So uh, you just put it in there, and you never know. You see what happens. The National is truly a test if you really want to keep something in your collection for a long period of time, because people will test you. You put a card in your case, there'll be somebody, if it's nice enough and good enough, somebody will come across you with an offer that's gonna be very difficult to refuse.
Yeah, yeah. And have you had good offers on that card when you when
Yes,
you
I
when you brought it out?
most recently I had it in my case. Who was it at the? What was the last show I did? Mm. Oh, believe it or not, funny you say. I had it in my showcase at Laz's show a couple weeks ago, and somebody offered me 40,000 cash.
Oh,
So yeah, that was a tough
so
one to.
and here I'm saying, like, who's gonna walk into a local show, and I'm saying
Right.
10, 15,000, but now you're talking 40K, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm,
it
I'm
does
saying
happen.
there's people
Yeah.
there.
Well,
It's
people
something.
know you're there too, right? Like, I know I'm usually a fixture there at that show. We're usually next to each other. I didn't attend that show, but I mean, I know you're there and I know you have high-end stuff, and I've been next to you at those shows, and I know people come just to see what you have in your case. So for me being next to you, man, it works out great because you're my social media, right? You're bringing all the people in, and I'm just saying, well, why you're standing, you can look at my case too, right?
Well, it's funny. At that same show, I sold the Patrick Mahomes optic to 99 hollow PSA 10 card, and
Is
that
that
went
the autographed card?
autograph card on
The
card.
one you had last year? The same one?
Uh,
Oh,
it went for 16. So
wow. Wow.
it was again, that's also one I want to hold into the season. Especially now he's two Super Bowls in.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit for him. But hey,
Oh,
card at the same time, if you really love a card, you'll hold on to it. But as you realize, like certain cards numbered to such, like that one's numbered 99. I'll come across it again. It's a card that I love, but I'll come across it again.
mm, mm. Um, when you're looking for inventory going out, like a lot of people talk about having a honey hole or just a place that they can, a well that they can continue to go to pick up inventory. Um, are you a guy that has a place like that, or do you just kind of take it as it comes to you?
I truly source from everywhere, and you have to be flexible. If you're trying to find good deals, you can't just be isolated and kind of zeroed in on one specific area. Like think about it. If you buy everything through auction, whether it's eBay, PWCC, or Golden, you're basically paying market value for that item. There's not
Yeah.
really much to work with unless it's a super rare card that you won and somebody's willing to just give you more for it. Uh, Everything you have to get is pretty much off market. either at card shows or via social media. Is somebody that messages you or you message them because they posted something you might like, and hey, this is what they're selling for. Would you be interested in taking cash 80% of comps or 70% of comps? And depending on the car, the rarity, the desirability, people are usually willing to work with you.
Yeah, I find it tough, and I used to say I thought it was because of my age, being a little older on social media, but I find it tough to make deals, because by the time the card pops up on Instagram or Facebook or someone shares a reel with me or something, if the price is right, the card is gone, and if the price is, at comps or higher, it's usually there and somebody's, trying to maximize, get the most for it. So
Yeah.
either way, it doesn't, I'm either not getting the card or that the card's left there. It's overpriced and I'm probably not
Right.
going to get, especially if it's a car that I'm going to turn over.
Yeah.
And I think, by listening to a lot of, content and talking about like high-end flippers and things like that. I mean, these guys are always just talking about having these places that they, just people they go to. Certain people are always there with, and that's kind of where I need to, like, I'm trying to ease myself into, and I, talk to people like you all the time just to try to figure out, like, pick people's brains, like, you know, how do you get on that list? I mean,
Well,
maybe that's the question. How do you get on a list like that?
it's truly about building rapport and doing as you say, right? So if little insider tip, make build relationship with breakers, right? Breakers are a good source to be able to get the rare cards that from new high end product that comes out, like whether it's Prism, Select, or everything in between. You build a relationship with them. Guess what? And you have a long history of buying things up as soon as they're trying to sell them. Guess who their first phone call will be? It'll be you, or at least you'll be one of the top three, whether it gets passed along or gets passed on by a couple people ahead of you. Things will fall in your lap, and the more breakers you have in your repertoire, the more inventory you'll be able to either accept or pass on. Also, don't bypass Facebook groups. I know Facebook's almost like ancient these days, but if you go on there, Facebook groups is definitely what's keeping it afloat. Whether you're trying to buy stuff like scraps, cards, memorabilia, photos, there's a group for everything over there. Definitely utilize that between building relationships with breakers, other collectors on social media and Facebook groups. You could pretty much source all your inventory from there if you like. There's many more ways to source inventory, but those are good 3 ways to start.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this, Nick? How long have you been in the, on the show circuit, setting up at shows and
I got back into it approximately like 4 years ago. It was maybe like just before, maybe like 8 to 10 months before the pandemic,
Mhm.
maybe
And
possibly 12, but it was right around there because I had taken a small break, because I do many different things outside of cards and collectibles, um, like real estate being a major part. I'm also a police officer by day, so I definitely do a lot of different things. I do luxury watches as
Mhm.
well. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you, like, you're expanding now, right? I know you were in the, Type 1 photos,
that
and
too.
you were just talking about the jewelry and things like that, so just kinda talk a little bit about what you're expanding into.
Uh, real estate's always there. I'll leave that to the side. That's something I was doing well before I got back involved with cards and memorabilia. In regards to luxury watches, watch has always been a passion of mine since I was younger. It always attracted my eye. Did I know or was I well versed on them? Not really till recently. But the one thing I did notice in regards to the charts, they were very luxury watches were on a very parallel line to cards and memorabilia prior to the pandemic, where it was organically growing, and then through the pandemic where everything surged, and then post pandemic where everything normalized. Um, they kind of go hand in hand, and I think not only myself, but you're seeing a lot of other collectors from this industry also dabbling with luxury watches. Because think about it, it's almost in the sense the same thing, but there is a larger market for it. Uh, a lot of people, like if you take the general population and poll who's interested in watches and who's interested in sports card memorabilia, luxury watches would win.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Every,
And when
whether
you're
whether you know about watches or not, everybody knows what a Rolex is,
yeah.
right?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, what kind of are the watches like the cards? There's a price point for everybody, or are the watches
Yes.
just high end?
It's very similar to cards.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Look, there's not as much variety as there are for cards because there's hundreds of thousands of different types of sets and cards that in existence. And watches, there's only uh, set ones. There's only so many watches made. They get discontinued just like other things do. Like think about rookie cards. They'll only produce that 1 year and then they're done. And you only have those cards to work with. Same thing with watches. They get produced for maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 years, depending on what it is, and then they cut it off and their value shoots up. And then again, it's something that you could wear. That's why it just works in unison. Like if you like cards, maybe 6 out of 10 people, 7 out of 10 people will also like luxury watches
Hmm.
once they
It's
see the parallels in it.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because before the pandemic, before I got into cards, I purchased a lot of watches. Nothing high end, no Rolexes or
It
things
doesn't
like
have to
that,
be
but
on
it
it.
was just something that I enjoyed wearing. Just different, really nice watches that I would put on and pair up to,
Right.
just to go out on a Friday or a Saturday night or something like that, or if I had a business meeting or things like that. But and it was really coming from a guy who I didn't wear a watch daily, right? I only put it on as a piece of jewelry when I was doing something important.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, it's something you can enjoy while you're maneuvering, right? Trust me, if I could wear a sports card outside of the necklaces that everybody wears now, uh, and I could wear it in a stylish manner, of course, I put it on with a suit. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's not an option. So my next best choice is the luxury
yeah,
watch.
yeah,
And look, for me, a lot of time, like for watches, same thing applies that does with cards. I'm a collector as well as an investor in that genre as well. And for me, you'll be surprised if you go look at my watch collection. A lot of the watches that I truly like is because I like them, and they're not doesn't mean they're worth a lot, not at all.
mm,
They could be $500-600, and
yeah,
then there's watches that are like 10,000-15,000 plus. You
yeah,
like what you like.
yeah. And it's interesting too. I mean, just turning that back to cards, like a lot of these cards behind me, you see, they're not overly expensive cards, but what I like. It's the player I like. It's what I want. And it doesn't have to be like a $30,000 card. It doesn't have to be. I mean, some of them could be maybe a 15 or a $20 card, right? But it's the player that I want, and I think that's kind of in my mind how I was with watches and how I am with most things in my life. If it's what I like and it's what I want, then I get it. And in the card hobby, it took me a while to understand that it's okay, right? It's okay just to, collect what you want, and you didn't have to worry about, the price, and being a dealer, sell what you want, because we're at whatever you're comfortable in selling. When I came back in, I felt that it was always keeping up with the Joneses, right? The more I had, the more respect I got, like that type of thing. And I realized, I was kind of wrong with a lot of that. And I think a lot of people do that with anything when they first get in, or like a hobby, or with anything. But uh, everyone seems to settle in at some point to what's comfortable for them.
Right. And it really boils down to you buy what you like. And I think we touched on it before we got on together,
Mm,
where myself, I just won't purchase anything that I'm not okay with holding on for a long period of time that I would enjoy.
mm,
Whether I buy it for my PC or I buy it with the intention to turn it over. In the event that I don't turn it over and I'm holding it, I would still want to be able to enjoy it. And then when
yeah.
the time comes, I could choose to do what I want with it. But again, I just don't do something or buy something that I won't truly be passionate or enjoy myself. I refuse. Because I would be very upset if I had something there that I had put in my showcase that I normally wouldn't purchase.
Yeah, yeah. And I just talked about that on my last episode. Just cards that I picked up, like basketball cards, which I really don't follow basketball, surprisingly enough. That I had, I was putting basketball cards in my case that, I really didn't know the player. I knew by buying the card the comp was good, and I was buying the card under comp, and I wanted to sell it at comp, but I had no idea, if I'm not watching the sport, right, if that basketball player is doing well, if they're doing terrible, if they got injured. Like I really don't know what's going on with them, and that price could fluctuate. Where other people were something in football, where I watch football, so that's my lane. That's where I need to be, because I know what's going on with every single quarterback, every single running back, every wide receiver, that type of thing. So I know, like, this guy's doing well, I could ask more for this guy, and this guy's doing terrible, I just need to get rid of him, type of thing.
Yeah. And you said the magic word, football. Around national season, it's 3 words: football, football, football. That's the primary focus of the show. And that's why you see in the months upcoming to the national, everybody's just running around the local shows, eBay, wherever they could source cards and just buying as much football as possible.
I
That's
don't
where,
I don't see the comps going up as much, though. I mean, everybody's buying as much as possible, and everybody claims to be buying under comps, which means, right, the comps are never really going to go up if everyone's buying it under comps.
well,
How are the comps supposed to go up if nobody ever buys it over comps?
well, think about, remember, in this hobby, it's very seasonal, right? So it's almost, in a sense, simple, because if you buy the same time every year and sell the same time every year, 9 times out of 10 you're going to walk out in the green. Like, think about it: the comps and card prices for football don't typically go up until anticipation builds everywhere else. Like, the national is a collector's event, right? And people that are in a hobby migrate towards it. But the general fan that might go on eBay to purchase a card casually, or something that they want to buy for themselves, what gets them excited to go buy the card? They start smelling the grass, right? They start watching ESPN, and there's more football coverage. It's getting people excited. So what do people do? They'll either go buy some. For myself, I'll go on Fanatics website and buy some new Miami Dolphins merchandise to wear for the games, or on football Sunday. People will go buy cards. They'll buy something that's affiliated with their team, or one of the athletes that they like, because they want to invest in that player going into the season, feeling that they might do well. Like, you buy, in just an example, you'll buy Lamar Jackson because you feel, with all the tools they acquired and the new offensive system, that he's going to flourish this year. It's, in a sense, a gamble. It's a chance, and it's a way to invest into the season for yourself as a fan.
I don't want to. I'm going to say I agree, but I don't agree, right? Because I mean, this is my third trip around here, at this time of year, since jumping back in, and I've learned, the first 2 trips around, that, as soon as football starts, as soon as the kickoff for opening day or football, right, I just watch those prices decline in football.
Once the season starts, then you're
Yeah,
a little late. Like, after
yeah,
week 2 of the NFL season, everything starts
yeah, yeah.
gradually going down. But like, the 4 weeks prior to kickoff and the 2 weeks after, that's kind of the green zone. That's when, if you're trying to move some cards, that's the time you do it.
Yeah, and any of the football that I have that I purchased to move, if it doesn't go out in Chicago, I'm doing the East Coast National, in August, coming back and doing that, and that's kind of the last. If it doesn't sell, then, to me, then I'll probably be losing some money on it, right?
Yeah.
And there's a handful of cards, like the Mahomes cards and stuff, that I purchased, that, and kind of what we were talking about too, is, I don't. If I don't sell them, I'm not upset, because it's my guy, right? And I don't mind having him here. And I have a high end Joe Burrow. It's the same thing, right?
Right.
If it doesn't sell, I don't mind holding on to it, because there's just a couple proven quarterbacks. I know they're going nowhere, and I enjoy having the cards, right? So,
Yeah.
what do you think of World Cup coming up? What do you think? Do you think the women's soccer market is going to, be a little boom this year? Do you think?
Sure. Just like, even for the men's World Cup, there was a boost. It wasn't as big as everybody expected. but I'm sure like people get invested into it. Our women's soccer team is very, very well respected worldwide.
Yep.
They definitely have a good legacy and good dynasty going on over there. But yeah, I think as people watch, they'll get excited if somebody really stands out in the World Cup. Like nowadays, the first thing people do is they run to eBay and try to buy up as many as their high end cards as there is available. Look at the Wimbledon Alcaraz. The
Yeah.
Alcaraz train started chugging along at the end of the last summer for when
Yeah.
he won the U.S. Open.
Yep.
Now he just acquired his second major and
Yeah.
he earned it in dominant fashion. He really earned it. It wasn't given to him by any means.
Yeah.
And really,
What
this
what
one
a
really.
great game to watch, right?
Oh my
I've
God.
never watched tennis. I've never followed tennis, and I'm saying this because I watched the series on Netflix,
Yeah.
right? Uh, I can't think of the name of it offhand, but I watched the whole thing. I really enjoyed it, and then now all of a sudden I watched tennis. I watched that match, the women's and the men's this weekend, and they were phenomenal, right? The men's was
Yeah.
phenomenal. The women's, was straight sets, but the men's, it was phenomenal, and I'm like, here I am. I think I'm a tennis guy now, right? Because it,
Right.
it was just so exciting to watch.
Well, Netflix is very influential in that because look what it did for F1 and look now what it's doing for tennis.
Yeah,
It's doing the same thing, and the more they kind of dabble their toe in those waters, and now they have the quarterback show on Netflix too.
yep,
Includes Kirk Cousins and Patrick Mahomes.
yeah,
But yeah, they just really have a pulse on what's going on and really bring to light and to the forefront to have people pay attention. Once they produce a show and they get you invested in the player and the character and their personality, you're more likely to kind of pay attention to them in the real world outside of the TV show when they're actually playing live, because then you became a fan of theirs through what happened in their personal life and what happened on the show.
yeah,
So it's great. It's great because now it's bringing the alternative sports to the forefront.
yeah.
In
I
the
know,
States, F1 was not really prominent until recently.
yeah, I know a lot of people talking about the quarterback one that Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota who are on it, right? Like nobody had any idea like what these guys were like or any, like Patrick Mahomes, we see more in the media, more talking, but then we get to meet his wife and his family and things like that. But yeah, you're right. It makes it more personal. Like you feel like these people now, where before you didn't. And same with the tennis. Like I felt like each person when they did one episode on each
Mhm.
person, I felt like they did such an awesome job like getting me to like them,
Right,
right? They're just telling me who they are and giving me their backstory and things, but I'm like, wow, I really like this person, right? So I'm excited to watch them.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
So circling back to Alcora, it was just funny because it's like clockwork. Anytime somebody's about to accomplish something great, you go to eBay before it happens and you see these cards there. And then when you go back after it happens, you either see the prices shoot right up in regards to the listing price, or you see all those cards sold because somebody just snatched them all up, knowing that they were gonna increase in value.
yeah.
But
But
it's just funny
somebody's
how
always,
how fast it happens.
yeah, somebody's always way ahead, and even if it's by accident,
Yeah.
right? Even like here I was a guy who after uh the NWSL draft, Alyssa Thompson, she gets drafted number 1. Sports Illustrated for Kids has got her first card in it, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh, I need a bunch of these. I go out and buy 5 of them, and I wrap them up and I put them away just to hold on to them. Well, wouldn't you know, who else is in that episode is
Wembanyama. Yeah.
Victor Wembanyama, right? Next thing you know, these things are worth $300 each. I'm like, sell, sell, sell.
You could always keep one for yourself too. It never hurts.
But and even by, and like I'm saying, even some people, it's just by accident. Like for me, it was literally by accident. But a lot of people know what they're doing out there, but other people, they just get lucky sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
W-
The
How,
good.
I was gonna say, how do you feel now that we brought his name up? How do you feel about him? I know you're more of a basketball guy. How do you think about Victor Wembanyama?
Uh, in regards to body type, he reminds me of Giannis when he first came into the league.
Mm.
Different style of play.
Yeah.
I don't want to get misquoted there, but definitely very talented, and he's going to do well. I just think uh, he just needs to get integrated and get adjusted to the speed of the NBA. Playing in Europe and playing everywhere else, it's great. It's competitive, but nothing's like the world's greatest play in the NBA. So people are going to target him. They're going to try to give him a rough time. He's going to have to stick through it. Kevin Durant has been very thin and lanky his whole career. I think Wembanyama will grow somewhat into his body. Being that tall, it's hard to do so. But I think he could salvage to put some meat on those bones and take the brutal beat down the key in the NBA. Obviously he's more of a perimeter player and he's very versatile, go in, out, whichever way. But it's very intriguing and it's a bold statement when you hear analysts say if him and LeBron James were in the NBA draft together, LeBron would go number 2 and he would go number 1. So again, very bold statement, and I don't know. Time will tell.
Do you think the card values, like just flip into the cards, do you think that what these first autos are selling for is legitimate? Do you think they're overpriced right now? Do you think people are destined to lose some money on those?
So in the midterm, yes, but in initial acquisition, you can make money if you turn it over quick. If you hold on to it right now in the median or the middle time frame, if you sell, you could possibly sell at a loss. And then obviously long term is always going to be pretty much as long as he has a healthy career, those things will organically go up in value. But when I talk about the midterm, wait till his other cards come out. Once his other cards come out, people forget about those cards in the short term, right?
Yeah.
They'll go back to him eventually.
It's a lot like football, right? As soon as the National Treasures comes out, right, everybody forgets about
after each set. It devalues the set prior to it, right? And obviously the core sets will always hold significant value. Like a Prism Gold is a Prism Gold, but it's just everybody gets excited for the initial cards. They try to buy it up. The manufacturer also knows that, so in a sense, they overproduce a ton of them, And then as the more premier sets come out, people kind of push those to the wayside. They decline in value, while the newer sets are more desirable and they're the hot commodity and go up quite a bit.
How do you feel about prospecting? Do you ever prospect players?
I can't say I do, because for me, I have a limit with prospecting. If I buy somebody that's unproven, if you go to a certain price point, like for instance, my threshold is what can I get a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or LeBron James autograph card for? You figure anywhere from like 4,000 to 6,000, depending on what the card is. You get some Kobe autos for like 4,000, sometimes a little less. I won't pay more for a prospect than that, because after that, I'm like, I could purchase a Hall of Fame autograph card or a patch auto or whatever the case is. Whether it's from a low end set or anything above that. I just can't put myself to do it. I can't put myself to buy, especially baseball prospects. Those are the most evil. I can't put myself to spend $6,000 to $10,000 on a baseball prospect that hasn't shown me anything, that hasn't even made it to the majors yet. Forget about showing me anything, Yeah.
And you're talking about just buying a card. So do you go out and buy anything and put it away and say, okay, I've bought these cards, I'm going to put them away, and hopefully 2 years, 3 years from now, they're gonna mature, and if the player pops, they're going to be worth money? Or you're just like, heck no, I'm just going to buy what's going in my case, and I have other things in my closet than cards.
I'm trying to think of a time where I hoarded something and put it away, hoping that they turned out well. I nothing's come to mind. I'm sure I've done it, but nothing's really sticking out. I used to do that a lot when I was younger. Now it's just like, for me, wherever I park my money, I want to make sure it's safe and secure, right? So what better way to park it where there's vested interest in the Hall of Famers, the legends of the game, and knowing that, hey, these items will always be worth something. Like for instance, for myself, I love jerseys. I love autographed jerseys, especially UDA jerseys, Fanatics jerseys, and such, like officially licensed autographed jerseys. Those I thoroughly enjoy, and they're great showpieces for the office. So those I put away, and I'm happy with. But
So you have a
by no means are those prospects though.
yeah, you have a collection of those as well.
Yeah, small collection. I have. I'm a normal Dolphin fan, but I did recently acquire at Laz's show a Fanatics Tom Brady white jersey, which is one of the harder ones to find.
Nice.
I have a Lionel Messi jersey that's signed. I have Mariano Rivera, Dan Marino. That's just it's nothing of value, but it's something. He's one of my
Personal.
favorite players.
You're a Dolphin fan. Yeah.
I heard my Dolphin fan.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's stuff that I enjoy. The jerseys I won't sell, but I have a Michael Jordan autographed UDA jersey too. That's going
Oh.
up on the wall. I'm getting that
Mhm.
framed probably at the National. But yeah,
They have framing services out there for that stuff.
there's a couple companies that go there and they'll intake jerseys and fly it back to their destination and then ship it out to you. So it at least saves you the heart attack of possibly losing a beautiful jersey in the mail. Uh, as we know, not even the mail is safe sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I find though, if you pay off for all the extra insurance, nothing ever happens to it. It's the ones you
That
don't
is
pay.
true.
You know, the ones you don't pay insurance on, they disappear before they never leave the post office down the street, right?
That is a
But
good
if you
point.
put the $35 or $40 on the insurance on it, that thing makes it no
Yeah,
matter where it's going. Yeah.
they made their money. They don't need to steal from you. They already made their money. But
uh, so we're getting out. We're going to be at National. What are you looking forward to? You were at the last one in Chicago, right?
yes,
And going back, what are you looking forward to? I mean, and it could be outside the show too, like the food, anything local. I mean, is there anything you're looking forward to doing while you're out there that either you didn't get a chance to do when you were there at the last National, or um, you did and you want to make it better this time?
last time I went there, I actually got to go. I love going to stadiums. I love visiting new stadiums that I haven't been to. I was able to go to Wrigley Field last time. I probably go there again. It's just it's a good feeling. It's a great old piece of history in regards to the stadium. And you catch a good game. Outside of that, in regards to the show, especially on the bigger shows, it's great to catch up with everybody that you built relationships with over the years. You a lot of times you're scrolling through social media and you try to keep in touch and keep tabs with everybody through that, but sometimes difficult, especially in high volume. The big shows like National, Burbank, Dallas is very few times where you get to see everybody in person, go grab a bite to eat, go grab a drink.
Mm.
Get to talk about the hobby, your passions, and success in the show. Talk about the show in general, see if it's going good for them, bad for them. Bounce ideas off each other. It's fun. It's not only networking an event, but for the people that you network with, it's good to always catch up.
Yeah. I know last year in Atlantic City, going there, I'm like, oh, I want to do all this. I want to talk to this person. I go grab a drink with it, and you get out there and like, it was like, you should have made these plans before you got here, right? You really
Yeah,
should have made real plans. So this year going out there, I've made a lot more plans. I made a lot
sure.
more like meetups that, where it's not just up in the air. Like, okay, I'm going to see you on Thursday, or I'll see you on Friday, or we're going to, just to be like really more specific out there for people who are not dealers, obviously,
Yeah.
because it gets so crazy out there, no matter what you're doing at the show, after show, at trade nights and things like that.
But now you're talking like a true veteran, right? Like
Mm,
what people don't realize, for people that haven't been to the Nationals,
yeah.
very, very overwhelming experience. I remember my first National. I'm sure you remember yours. It's just chaos.
Yep.
I can't even say control chaos because it's controlled to an extent, but there's stuff going on everywhere, and you can't be as much as you'd like to. You can't split yourself up into multiple people to attend everything all at once. So you really have to be good at budgeting your time, doing
Mm,
the things you want to do, kind of planning it out ahead of time to do so. And then after the show, first of all, during the show, it's very hard as a vendor to leave your table, because anytime you leave your table, it's a missed opportunity. I can't tell you how many times I even had to run to the bathroom, or I wanted to go meet one of the athletes at the autograph pavilion, and I get like 3 phone calls. Hey, somebody's interested in this card. Gotta get back here. They have money. They want to pay your price, and you're like sprinting down the thing, bumping into people, and then after the show, people want to grab drinks, dinner with you. Then you also have some of the private events from the corporate sponsors, and then you also have the trade nights. So it's like you're running hard from like 8, like maybe probably 7 in the morning from the time you try to go get breakfast all the way to like midnight and then some, and then you have to do the same thing over and over. It's truly a test of endurance.
Yeah.
I promise you, by the time Sunday rolls around, you don't want to talk about a sports car.
You just want to get on a plane and go home, right?
Yeah.
My favorite part, believe it or not, is that Wednesday, because the show doesn't start till later in the afternoon, to set up in the morning, and then you have those 4 or 5 hours, where you could just, it's just the vendors that are in there, right? That's the only people that are in there, and you just get to go find, all the different vendors, the people, and, try to meet up and see as many people as you can and walk around, so I mean, I enjoy that down. It's like to me, it's like the quiet before the storm.
Well, that's also a time to identify what you might have your eye on to acquire later on in the day or during the show at some point. Like the one thing I take advantage of on Wednesdays and even early Thursdays is try to cover as much ground while somebody's watching my table to make sure, hey, I like this card. I like this card. You'll see me with a notepad, walk around, write table numbers down, be like, okay, this table has this card that I like. This card, like this table has this card, so on and so forth. And it just makes it easier for you later on, because I can't and I'm sure it happened to you. You find a table, you find a set, you kind of try to correlate it to one of the corporate sponsors where it's near, and then by the time you try to find it later, you're like, damn, I know it was in this vicinity, but I can't find exactly where it is.
But most of the time you're looking for the specific card or the specific item. And what I found is it's always sold, right? Is by the time, if you go back to it, it's gone. Like last year, I remember sitting there and telling people, coming up and taking a picture of the card and say, what's the best you'll do on this card? I said, that's it. What's your booth number? They, have the phone out, they snap a picture and they go off, they come back in hours, but like 10 minutes after they go, the next person walks up, and maybe on a few occasions when one person walked away, the person right next to him said, I'll pay that.
Oh, that was me. That was the story I told you.
That was what?
That happened to me the last time in Chicago. I found the card that I was at the time. Kyler Murray was very hot commodity, and it was a field level. I think Dragon Scale, PSA 10. Really wanted the card. I was like, hey, would you take? Asked how much he wanted for it. I said, would you take this? He said, yeah. He goes, sure. So cash, whatever. I turn around to pull cash out of my bag, and I get approached by one of my buddies, Jay, Mojo Sports, and we start chopping it up really quick. Me thinking the deal's already done. Some guy, as I'm talking to Jay, comes and gives him an extra $200 on top of what I was about to pay him, even though it was agreed upon. And by the time I turn around, the card's gone, and he's like, "Hey, man," he goes, "It was an extra $200." I couldn't say no. I was like, literally, like right there, inches behind me. So
yeah, and if it's a card like you're really looking for, and this is what I've realized out there, that if you've got a card that somebody's really looking for, and they come up and they're like, "Oh, I've been looking for this card," like standing firm on the price, because obviously they haven't seen it anywhere else. The price may have just gone up $100.
Yeah, you'll be surprised, and people are not shy either. Like even as the consumer, if they want something, they'll definitely go out of their way to give you a fair offer.
Yeah,
it's not like a local show where everybody's gonna try to undercut you.
Yeah.
But speaking of shows, keep an eye out. Me and Laz are whipping up something good in the near future. I can't touch on it yet until we put pen to paper. But when it happens, you'll hear about it. So definitely keep an ear out.
I hope I'm going to be part of it.
Of course. I already have your spot reserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And awesome. Rob, I can't forget Rob either.
Yeah. Sports car therapist. Speaking of Rob and trade night and national, you going to make our trade night on Friday night?
Yes, I'll be there. Whether I'm half asleep or not, I'll be there. It's going to be a long day, but I'll make my way over there to say hello.
Yeah, we were set up across from each other last year, and yes. You had so much going on. There was Nick just kept running back and forth, calisthenics. Yeah.
I'll tell you, and that's what I don't get many opportunities to leave the table, but when I do, I'm trying to make the most of it and do as many things as possible.
Yeah.
Remember,
What's your
hydrate and eat. People forget to do that when they're in the zone at the table.
Well, that's one thing I did last year, and people were like, "Looking," because I can't eat. I am gluten free, right? So I can't eat all the fried stuff that they usually sell at these places. So, I was bringing my own cooler in every day with cold cuts and things like that. People are like, "What are you doing? All this food?" And I'm like, I can't eat all that stuff." But I was probably the the most nourished guy in our booth last year. Between my drinks and my food and
That's the way you keep
protein
your mind
bars.
sharp.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Tell everybody booth number. They want to come find you. What's your booth number out? And then,
Okay, I'll be where I normally am with Rick Probstein. His booth. It's one of the bigger ones. You can't miss it. It's just one big sign that says Probstein 123. The table numbers are as follows. It's gonna be 1061, 1063, 1160, and 1162.
and it's
That's
all one square, right? It's
Yes.
not like there's four
I,
different
I guess a
places.
rectangle. Yeah,
Yeah,
square rectangle, whatever you
yeah,
like to call it.
yeah.
We'll definitely have a variety of very nice items to take a look at, whether you're trying to buy or you're just trying to come take a look at it as a collector. Rick has a plethora of things going on there, including a big display piece of which here I could talk about it now because he put it on social media. All his Jordan PSA 10s will be on display there,
Oh wow.
and
Oh,
I think now he has about 30 of them. So it's going to be quite the sight. It's definitely going to bring a lot of people over there. But outside of that, my buddy Eton's also going to be by my side. He's a Type 1 photo specialist, along with me by flanking him with other high-end sports cards. But I'll be buying quite a bit at the National. So if you're interested in selling or liquidating, please by all means come by. And we'll pay you a fair market value and see where we go. Typically, I'll buy anywhere from 70-80%. And then, yeah, maybe we'll cash people out. They can reinvest the money as they please or just keep it in their pocket for themselves.
mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I think most people do, right? I mean, people say I'm going there card heavy or, sell cards to cash out so they can use that money to go, buy something else. That was a lot of what was last year. A lot of people showed up. A lot of people I knew were telling me, I'm showing up card heavy and I'm just going to move as many of these cards. I know what I want to buy, but I have to move these cards to build capital to go buy the cards that I want to buy. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
People
And
will people will liquidate, keep the money in their pocket. Other ones, like you said, are trying to sell or trade to consolidate into cards they want or just a bigger card overall. Everyone wants to go their card heavy and travel light back. So
yeah. Yeah. I want to go home cash heavy.
yeah, either cash heavy or
Yeah.
lighter in the card sector. But
Yeah. Nick, tell people where they can reach you on social.
at the_slab_exchange, you'll just see a nice little bluish teal circle with a couple slabs there. Hard to miss. Um, Outside of that, see me at the bigger shows, the National. I'll be also at Burbank, and then I make it to the Dallas show wherever I can. I try to really be more selective as to the shows I go. I'm usually a staple at the bigger ones, but in regards to local ones, I'm always a Laz show. I have the shows coming up with Laz right around the corner. Coming probably around the fall. September will probably be our first one, so keep an eye out for that. Outside of that, I'm pretty heavy on Instagram, so that's
Are
the
you
place.
doing the trade night Friday night? Pop Century Collectibles.
I will be there. I won't be set up, but I'll stop in and mingle, rub elbows with the celebrities such as you and Rob,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
catch up with Laz and be on my way. I have to be up the following morning at 4:30 in the morning, so I can't stay too long. But I will stop in.
Good. Good.
I always
Nick,
support my guys.
thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on, brother.
Of
And
course, anytime.
I look forward to seeing you not only Friday, but the week after in Chicago. Hopefully we can, grab a drink, or we got to make a plan outside of that trade night, just
Yes,
to hang out for a little bit.
that we will. We just have to do a good job at trying not to lose our voices in the process because we're going to be doing a lot of talking at the National.
Yeah. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. And until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. Take care.